What is going on, everybody, on YouTube? Griffin here, coming back to you guys with another quick live stream. Just wanted to hop in here real quick this evening. I had some time on my hands while I'm actually updating a video for you guys. Or not updating, I guess, uploading, I should say, a video for you guys that will probably be out sometime this upcoming week. I'm trying to get a little bit better at, editing the videos for your guys' liking, your all's views and viewership and all that kind of determine how the videos are edited. A lot of you guys seem to be resonating more with the videos that tend to have more of the effects and things of that nature, sound effects, visual effects, graphs, things of that nature. So it's gonna mean that there's gonna be less videos coming out, but the video quality is probably gonna go up over time for sure with that as well. So if for some reason you guys want to push back on that narrative, definitely don't hesitate to let me know what type of videos you guys like. But yeah, that video specifically is going to be a little bit of what we're talking about today, just in more depth. It's about a half-hour video about just an overall Google Ads update. And this stream specifically, of course, for those of you that are going to be new, tuning into my content for the first time and wondering, what is the whole premise of this live stream or maybe video by the time you see it. We go live usually about once a week on average, for the most part, either on Saturdays or Sundays. It just worked out this week that Friday evening worked out best for my schedule. And I go live just to kind of answer your all's questions more than anything, about, various topics, starting a pest control business, growing a pest control business, or really any service business, to be honest. All of the advice is relative if you have a service business of any kind. A lot of the questions and answers are gonna go hand in hand with any type of service business. I take some of the comments. I have comments pulled up here. I need to actually get it pulled up. I got your all's comments pulled up here from over the last week. Usually I'll have at least 3 questions at the minimum that I think are good topics for everybody. And then, of course, as you guys can probably see, we have the chat pulled up on the side as well. So if you have any questions throughout, be it live or even after it goes live and turns into a video, you can drop it in the comments after it goes from a live stream to a video as well. And then, I can get to it in the next stream for you guys. And lastly, if you don't know who I am, of course, my name is Griffin Thomas. I own, like I mentioned, a pest control company in the Dallas, Texas area, Preferred Pest Management. We've been in business now over 3 years. Time flies, I tell you. We're in year 4 already, almost 3.5 years in already. Like I said, crazy, time flies. And on this channel, I've been documenting my overall business journey since I first got out of high school. If you go back all the way through my content, you'll see I did stuff, flipping stuff on Amazon, eBay, all sorts of crazy stuff, really. Just trying to find a way to, not necessarily have to have a job, so to speak. I've never been I do good work as an employee, but I just hated being an employee. I knew that being an entrepreneur, being a business owner is, in my DNA. And, it's not easy, but it's definitely worth it in the end. And I just document that whole journey for you guys. I don't sugarcoat it. Don't try to, make you guys think you're going to get rich overnight, anything crazy like that. Anyone that tells you that, run as far as you can. Of course, like I said, we've already been in business 3 to 4 years now. I'm not some, multimillionaire or anything like that. I'm on my way, but, I just keep it real with you guys, let you know what works, what doesn't work, what we're pivoting on. And just growing a community here. We have a Discord group chat you can join, totally free. Facebook group as well. I did get smacked with a little Facebook penalty. Got put in Zuckerberg jail again. Not entirely, but just I can't post in groups. It's like they know what hurts me most. I can't post in groups for about 25 days. All because I called someone a dummy. You can't say anything anymore. But that's why we have Discord too. Discord, we have like 300 members in there now. It's awesome to see that community continue to grow. So if you're an aspiring business owner, a lot of people in there are pest control business owners, or they are investors, traders, that kind of thing. If any of that sparks your interest, Links are in my link tree down below. But with that, we will just go ahead and hop right in. I got, of course, the Google keyword, not necessarily keyword planner tool, but just kind of my Google keywords from, a video that I was actually, like I mentioned, recording for you guys. I'll have that in the background, and we'll actually hop into that as well here in a second. Just some things that I found out about Google and all this other stuff. But with that, we'll just go ahead and hop right into the questions. I want to make sure that we don't have any questions so far. Let me see, because I have the chat pulled up where you guys can see it, but I can't see it always. Let me see. Okay, how's it going, Robert Shields? Yeah, so okay, I can see it now. Let's see, can you get a license without being in the business before? So that's a very common question too. I'm glad you asked that, because there's going to be a lot of people that'll be watching this after the fact that are probably going to ask the same thing, because I've been asked that question about 50 times in the last year. It's going to depend state to state. So like in my state in Texas, you don't necessarily have to be in the business to get licensed. However, you have to have, if you don't, then you have to have a degree in a related scientific field. It can be entomology. I believe there's different types of biology degrees you can have as well. In some states, it's even more laxed. It's, you just have to have like a associate's or maybe even a bachelor's degree of any kind. It doesn't matter the field. Again, it's going to vary state to state. I always suggest go and check out your Department of Agriculture's website. Like say you're in Hawaii, Hawaii Department of Agriculture, Florida Department of Agriculture, whatever state you're in, just Google search your state and then Department of Agriculture. Sometimes it takes some searching through on the website. Sometimes they can be kind of clunky, but you'll find exactly what the requirements are for your state. And then from there, of course, you just gotta act from there, right? It's all about action. At the end of the day, you can learn what you need to do, but then, it's another thing to go ahead and apply some action to that. So hopefully that answers that question. Like I said, in my state of Texas, you can either have your experience or a degree in a related field. Usually entomology is the easiest one, not to mention, it's going to actually prepare you the most, right? Because entomology is obviously about bugs and this and that and the other. It's going to prepare you the most for the industry. Me personally, I would just rather go work for another company. That way I'm actually earning money, earning money versus paying money to get a degree. You're essentially having to invest into your company from day one by going to school, and you're not getting paid for it. Where if you go to a company like a Terminex, an Orkin, notice I'm listing bigger companies because they tend to pay them. I don't want to say they pay the most. Sometimes they pay the most, depending on your area, but you also get a lot of valuable experience. Like I always tell people, for all of the shitty things that go on at Terminex, which is where I worked at, it was a catch-22 because they do overwork you. They make you do way too much as a technician. But for those of you that are looking to start a business, it works out great, because I always tell everyone, if you can work at Terminex, you can start your own business. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of stuff on the back end, like bookkeeping, customer acquisition in terms of advertising and things like that. You still got to learn, right? But in terms of, managing the customers, figuring out the scheduling, what the pricing is, that like all of the nuts and bolts of the business, they pretty much put it all on you as the technician. At least they did when I was there. Again, it's been 3 or 4 years since I've worked there already, but from what I understand from guys that I still keep in touch with, still the same. And like I said, you still make good money on top of that. You get your experience, you go out, take your test, bada bing, bada boom, you can start your business and, get it going versus school. Sure, you can work on the side, but you got to dedicate a lot of time to the books and everything, right? So yeah, hopefully that answers that question. Like I said, I'm glad someone asked it early on, because I get that question so often, and hopefully maybe somebody will see that answer, and maybe we don't have to answer it another 50 times. Let's see. Next question comes from Faro Pest Control. He commented on a YouTube short video clip we had about how to price pest control services. He said, how do you price commercial jobs? And this is another question that I get not quite as often, but some of you guys have asked it. I think I may even have a video or two that goes in depth, a little bit in depth at least, about how we price commercial. So of course, when it comes to commercial is broad, right? It's not just one set thing. You know, you have pricing for restaurants, then you have pricing for hotels, and you got pricing for apartments, you got pricing for even you know, more like industrial spaces like warehouses and things like that. It's all different. Usually what I will do is first and foremost obviously calculate what is our cost going to be. And like I always tell you guys, even when you're starting out as a new company where it's just you, go ahead and factor in what is the cost to have an employee come out here, because if you don't factor that in, you're never going to be able to scale ultimately. So always factor in, you know, what are my costs going to be, and try to even forecast, you know, what are my costs going to be, you know, 1 or at least 1 to 2 years down the road. Like, you don't want to have to be raising rates, especially on these commercial accounts every year. Ideally, you know, every 5 years maybe you can go ahead and raise the price on them, but you know, you don't want to be adjusting their price on a yearly basis or anything, otherwise they'll start shopping around, right? And that's another thing, we tend to give them, just like we do residential customers, a better rate if they're willing to go ahead and pay for a full year up front. I just had a commercial account, speaking of which, go ahead and pay for a second year with us. They were like, yeah, no, I mean, your service is great, your price is reasonable, we love that, you know, you give us pretty much a month for free whenever we pay for the year. Let's go ahead and pay for another year. They just paid that bill last week, another $1,000, not quite $1,000, it's like $968, but pretty much $1,000 locked in for the year. And that's just for rodent trapping, or rodent stations, not even trapping. I have 8 rodent stations around the building. It's an industrial building, but it's a smaller one. It may even be 8 to 10 stations set out there. On average, we might have to change out a couple blocks a month at the most. They're backed up to like almost like a green belt type of thing, so they experience mice from time to time. And that's just one example. Like I said, everything is going to be, you know, go in. What I always suggest people do is have a spreadsheet, especially for commercial. Have spreadsheets for pricing based on all those different type of scenarios. You know, what is our German roach clean out going to be? What is a bed but, like, especially when you're talking like housing, like apartments, duplexes, things of that nature. If you're in a college town, maybe dorms, all that type of stuff. Have a price sheet based on, you know, is there German roaches, is there bed bugs, is there this, is there that. In apartments and hotels, even, that's even more important, because a lot of times they want it typed in the contract, you know, okay, this is kind of our standard general pricing for like pest and rodent, but then also, you know, you're covered on bed bugs, or it costs an additional X dollars per unit that gets bed bugs or German roaches or whatever the case may be. So yeah, like I said, you know, that's what you kind of need to do from that side of it. Have a price sheet, and from there, you know, like I said, not just have one price sheet for just commercial as a whole. Have a price sheet for each type of commercial. You know, like we mentioned a second ago, restaurants, hotels, housing. I think there's even there's a newer one out there. It's like, I guess some health insurance providers will provide pest control now, or cover pest control, something like that. I forget the name of it now. If I recall, mostly the big companies like Terminix and Orkin have pretty much swallowed that up. But if you ever get a call for that, have a price sheet for that. And all that stuff, in my opinion, it's never necessarily 100% set in stone either, because obviously in this industry, there's so many different variables as well. Like, you kind of have your baseline, and then it can either, you know, go up a little, go down a little, but it at least gives you a ballpark, gives your sales team a ballpark kind of standard of, you know, hey, this is where most situations are going to be at, and kind of go from there. So hopefully that kind of answers that question. I'm trying to keep these answers somewhat short and sweet, but sometimes you got to kind of break it down a little bit. But good question there. Let's see. Next question comes from Rube J. Co. from our YouTube video that I posted. It's crazy the amount of views that some of these videos from like 1 to 2 years ago get. We posted a video about 1.5 years ago about where to get pest control equipment and chemical for your pest control business. And he commented and said, great video, which I appreciate. He asked, when you install the termite stations, how do you find them? Like post, say you're coming up on that yearly inspection where you need to pop the Trelona stations open and check the bait. How do you find them and, check them? And that's a good question, because when I first started, I had no idea either. I was like, I had to learn like how to get them in the ground first and foremost, let alone checking them. So I'll kind of walk you all through just real quick how you go about doing that. Matter of fact, we can even pull it up here on the desktop just to give you guys an idea. So we'll go over here to Amazon, because this is actually where I got it. So to save some money, because you guys don't need a powerful auger or anything like that. Like a lot of these companies have a giant auger that they'll use that's hundreds of dollars. What you need is a 3-inch, what is it called? A auger drill bit. It's just a drill bit, guys. Now you do need a good drill, specifically a hammer drill. Because especially if you're in more of a dirt, or it's kind of like a clay type of muddy dirt that we have down here in Texas, you're gonna need more power, obviously. But what you need specifically is a 3, it may even be 3.5. It's either 3 or 3.5 inch diameter hole that it's going to drill into the ground. And ideally you want to get one that is longer, that way you're not putting a lot of stress on your back. Like the one that I got recently is like 24 inches. But even this one here, 16 inches, this would probably do. And in all honesty, that is cheap. I'm gonna keep that pulled up because I might even look at it. This one here is not bad either, 34 inches, 3-inch. These have actually gotten really cheap. And be careful too, because cheaper isn't always better, guys. The one that I got, just put in perspective, it was like $80, maybe even $100. It's somewhere around $80 to $100, but it is like heavy. Like it is a very, very good bit. I've had it for, like 2 years now, and that thing is a beast. This might even be it right here, as a matter of fact. I wonder if it's saying like buy again. The fact that it's over here. 1231. No, actually I don't think that's it, as a matter of fact. But yeah, make sure you're getting a good quality one, of course. But yeah, this thing will just hook right into your drill. And like I said, just make sure that you have the right drill. Obviously, when they're showing this, they're assuming that you're just doing it like in a flower bed. If you're in like Texas, where a lot of our dirt, or the Ozarks, right, where your dirt is very like similar to like clay, essentially, where it's very kind of hard to drill through sometimes, you're going to want a hammer drill. The hammer drill that we got is just a standard, not a standard Ryobi, because Ryobi stuff is cheap generally. If you get the Ryobi, what is that lineup that they have? It's called like the 1+ HP. I think, not even just 1+, I think it's all 1+ now, but I think something about like HP. Let me actually just pull this up for you guys. Do this live. Let's see, Ryobi 1+ HP hammer. Yeah, I think it's this one right here, the 1/2 inch. I believe it's the 1/2 inch. It's either 1/2 inch or 3/8 inch, something of that nature. I believe it's this one right here. I don't use the handle. Actually, I do use the handle when I am putting the stations in. I would suggest getting the setup where it comes with the battery. It is a little more expensive. Had to mute myself there for a second. It is a little more expensive, but that battery, that HP battery, is so much more better and has a lot more power than the standard Ryobi battery. But you get that, and then you get that auger bit, you're good to go in terms of getting your stations in the ground. From there, there's a couple different ways you can go about actually getting the stations out of the ground. So in terms of checking your bait, I should say, because at first I was pulling the whole station out of the ground, and it was a pain in the ass. And my cousin, shout out to my cousin who owns a pest control business in the Midwest as well, he was telling me about these little like pick tools. I don't even know why I bothered getting off Amazon, because I want to show you guys that too. Which you can get those, I believe, at even like Harbor Freight, if I recall. I think is where I got mine. It came in like a little kit. It was just like a little pick tool or something like that. Let me see, pick tool set maybe. Um, and it comes, the one specifically, it has like a little 90-degree angle in it, kind of like this one right here. This one that has like a little 90-degree angle. You can actually get up the bait, the top of the bait cartridge. It has like these little holes in it, and you can actually get that little pick tool up underneath that lid. And I'm not talking the lid of the actual station, I'm talking the lid of the bait that actually holds the bait. It has like little holes in it, and you can get up underneath that and then actually pull the bait cartridge out of the station without having to pull the whole station out of the ground. And that saves you a lot of time, a lot of headaches, and it makes it so much quick. An average bait station check around a whole house, depending on the number of stations, takes me about 15 minutes, in all honesty. Like, it doesn't take too long at all. I'll have my little bag of cartridges with me. An average home, I might need to change anywhere between, sometimes none, but you know, the most I've had to change, I think, was like 6 maybe at a home. And you know, doing it this way, it makes it super quick. Now, you can run into an issue sometimes where, oh, how do I say, like, you can run into an issue where the station might be covered, right? Like, say, you know, they don't manage the property well, and like grass and weeds and stuff grow over it, or they put a flower bed in where your station was, and for some reason didn't bother to like pull it out first. You know, luckily for me, I explain it very well, and a lot of my customers will tell their gardeners, landscapers, whatever you want to call them, that, you know, hey, if you're, you know, when you're doing this, pull this out of the ground for me so I can have my pest guy put it back in for me, that kind of thing. But if it happens where a station is just unretrievable, I tell my customers that it is $100 per station that gets lost to get them replaced. Just because, you know, one, the stations obviously aren't cheap, right? You know, a case of, what do they come in, 12, either 12 or 16, something like that. It's up to like $350 now, before tax. So, I mean, they're not cheap, right? And then we're going through the inconvenience of having to reinstall it again and all that type of stuff. So we just put it in there that, you know, if a station is lost, it's $100 each. And that usually prevents that altogether. Some companies, I've heard, will actually go as far as removing the lids off of all of their stations and put, like, they'll glue like either a coin or just some piece of metal in general to the bottom side of the lid, and then put it back on, and then they'll just use like a little metal detector to find stations that, you know, aren't able to be seen. Another thing I started doing recently is whenever we install the stations, go ahead and take pictures once you're done and upload those pictures to the customer's account on GorillaDesk, because of course we use GorillaDesk for our CRM, and we can save those photos to the customer's account. That way, whenever it's time to go ahead and look for the stations, we at least have a very good general idea. Like, we don't just take, you know, 1 or 2 pictures and call it good. Like, I will try to like line myself up where it's very easy to tell, like, okay, yeah, there's one by a bush that's like right here, and oh, there's one right on this corner right here. Like, I try to be very detailed with the pictures to where it's almost obvious where the stations are. And then lastly, of course, here in the state of Texas, I don't know about every other state, of course, but here in the state of Texas, we are supposed to graph it out just like we would a liquid termite treatment. So, you know, we keep those graphs as well. Same thing, take a picture, upload it to the account. And obviously we keep the papers as well, like the actual graph paper, from, because we still do it on with pen and paper primarily, even though that's about to change now that we got iPads. Finally got us an iPad to start the year. We won't be doing paper much longer, but we do still have those. And like I said, you know, you just upload it to the account. There's plenty of things that you can do, is my point, when it comes to being worried about finding the stations. It definitely is something when you're first getting started that, you know, you kind of worry about, but you kind of problem solve and kind of figure it out from there. How's it going? Is it Majin? How's it going? As a one-man startup, would you focus on things like crawl space vents, replacements, and things like roof caps, the small extra things, or just general pest control and wait till have a till I've grown enough to have a team? Um, so are you referring to like exclusion work? Like, are you saying like would you do exclusion work along with general pest control, or just general pest control along with exclusion work? I think that's what you're kind of asking, so I'm gonna roll with that. I would do both. I always say vertical integration is everything. The more opportunities that you give your business to make money, in our case via services offered, is giving yourselves more odds to survive as a company. Now, obviously, like you mentioned, um, yeah, like you mentioned, once you have kind of grown as a business enough to have a team, all that becomes easier because you'll eventually get to a point where you're kind of like me, where there's some weeks and some months where it's just like, like, I can tell like we are getting very, very, very close to needing to be hiring somebody. I'm just waiting until I can actually say for a fact that, hey, I can keep this person full time, because I don't want somebody part time. I don't want to have to lay people off in the winter, things of that nature. I want somebody to be set in stone, safe with my company from day one, in terms of full time and all of that. But you will get to a point where you are going to have days, weeks, months, even in some cases, where you're almost pulling your hair out because you're like, I don't know how I'm going to get everything done. There might even be some months you don't get everything done in terms of your recurring general pest control stuff. And, it may roll over into that next month by a couple days, but you just kind of do what you got to do, because, like I said, the more that you're able to vertically integrate in your business, nothing wrong with starting out with like just pest control and termite is, your main categories. But from there, we want to start branching out even further. We want to offer rodent stations, exclusion, commercial work, all these different avenues for our business and things of that nature. Yes, sir. Like moisturizer barriers and attic remediation, heat treatments for bed bugs. Yeah, and the stuff like I'll even tell you, like I don't do anything attic wise in terms of like insulation removal and blow in. It is something like you mentioned, because of the fact that it's a two-man job. If I ever do decide to get into that, it will be later on down the road, whenever I have a couple to a few technicians where it makes sense. We don't even do heat treatments for bed bug treatments. We do chemical still, just as effective. Takes a little bit. I wouldn't even say it takes longer, because the preparation for heat treatments is so, like, there's so much that goes into it to do it right and effectively, that I actually prefer doing the chemical treatments more personally. Plus, it allows us to, save our customers a couple bucks. We still make very good money on it, and like I said, we achieve same results at the end of the day. Um, how's it going, Karate Chick? How goes the battle? Not gonna lie, that question went over my head. Does that mean how's it going? I'm assuming that means how's it going. Um, Kind of went over my head. I'm not gonna lie. Would I need a category 12 to inspect for termites, or 7B? Couldn't tell you. I'm assuming you're not talking about state of Texas. That must be a different state, I'm assuming. If not, then I need to freshen up some of my knowledge on my laws here in Texas. I know in Texas, for for anything, not just like for termite, but for any category that, like general pest has its own category, termite has its own category. Rodent control does not have a category. Pretty much anyone can do rodent control, exclusion work, things of that nature. Um, if you're going to do, say, WDIR inspections, like wood destroying insect reports, which we don't do because they're a waste of time, they make us no money whatsoever. That falls under the same termite category as well. There is different paperwork when it comes to doing those inspections, but Yeah, it all falls under the same thing. Appreciate all you do. Yeah, yeah, no problem. Sorry, it's IN. Is that Indiana? Yeah, yeah, and that's where I always go back to, just like when Robert Shields asked about, you know, um, can you get your license without being in the business before? Anytime you all have a question about like laws specifically, I always revert back to your Department of Agriculture's website. That is going to be kind of your holy grail of anything law and regulation specifically. And then if for some reason you can't find it there, either A, call them. They usually have a phone number that's very easy to get a hold of during the week. Monday, like I know here in Texas, Monday through Friday was like 8 to 4:30, something like that. We can contact them. Very easy to get a hold of them. Let's be real. I mean, how many people are contacting Department of Agriculture on a minute-by-minute basis, right? Usually pretty easy to get a hold of them, and they're usually very nice and able to point you in the right direction. Occasionally, you may need to reach out even to the EPA. I've never had to reach out to the EPA or anything like that, but in terms of, going to their website, they even have some, different knowledge panels that you can take a look at as well. But yeah, no, that's what I would do. I would start out in your case, just going to Indiana's Department of Agriculture website and, seeing what they say about that specifically. Let's see. Tropical Fruit Loop said on our short about how much do pest control companies make that these numbers are very good. Pretty sure the bigger companies are around 20%. 20% goes into cash flow after paying employees, CEO and stuff. And yeah, if you all haven't seen that video, that was a video about like why you should start a pest control business in 2024. We were just kind of breaking down like the numbers of how much you can make. Of course, I always say as a solo operator, you can make give or take 50%. It depends on, again, how much money you're going to reinvest back into your company. I know a lot of guys who they're at like net zero to even negative because they're just, one, they don't have to pay. They don't need any money from the business. Me, for example, I am the sole provider of my household, so I have no choice but to take a certain amount out of my company every month and every year. We're taking roughly 70 to 80,000 a year out. It's like my quote unquote, I don't want to say salary, but that's about how much we take out of the business to sustain our lifestyle and whatnot, which comes out to roughly as of last year, about 50% of what the company made in terms of sales. So, even us, we had about a 50%. If you want to look at it from a net profit standpoint after taxes, chemical costs, wear and tear on vehicles, depreciation of equipment. What else? Little bit of employee cost, 1099 cost, marketing, just all general business expenses, right? Accounting costs and all that type of stuff. We cleared about 50% last year. Can't complain about that at all. Let's see. We already went over that question. Oh, this is a good question here. So, I don't want to mispronounce that. Is it one word, one name? Rochelle B, 9227 on our how to do a rodent exclusion service video where we did that like walkthrough showing you guys how to do a exclusion service. Said that is a really good body cam, really clear and high definition. What is the name or link if you have one? And you all will be surprised to hear that, again, another Amazon find. It's not actually a body cam that I used. It is a phone holder type of, I'll show you guys here. Let me see. iPhone body mount strap. Oops. Didn't spell the whole word of mount. Hopefully Amazon search bar is smart enough. Maybe not. Let's see. We'll search this again. I think we had a question as well. Was there a piece of literature that helped you with the business? Are you referring to like just general business operations, like finances and this and that? Like how do I phrase my question to your question? Like overall like business operations, like marketing, finance, this and that and the other, or are you referring to like the nuts and bolts, like the bug side, so to speak? So this is the one actually right here that I got. This is what we did our rodent exclusion video with. I don't really use the head one because in all honesty, that shit looks dorky AF. It looks like I mean, like you can see right here, I mean, you got, and I have an iPhone, what is it called? The Pro Max. Like, it's not one of the smaller ones. So, I mean, it's like just a giant phone just strapped to your head. I did use it one time, but only in my own backyard. I've never used that shit in public because, like I said, it just looks dorky as hell. But this thing here, this here works very well. I was actually very impressed and surprised with how well the strap to the chest, like it was easy to kind of maneuver it, like how it looks, you think it just stays like that, when actually you can tilt it up, tilt it down, even slightly move it side to side just a little bit. I was very impressed with it for the cost. It wasn't bad at all. This one, it's an overall pick for a reason. It's not too bad on price, and you actually kind of get a 2-for-1 because you do get the head one. Like I said, the head one can come in hand, it can be handy, but like I said, it just looks kind of dorky in my opinion. So I don't really use it unless if I'm just using it at the house, to do a YouTube video, which I don't really do too often. But yeah, so to answer that question, it's not a body cam. It's just, strapping my phone to my chest essentially. And, where was I going with that? Yeah, just kind of like making do with what I got at the end of the day. Business side, I've been in the industry for 6 years. Feel like I'm ready to jump out there on my own. Just never went to college for business. Yeah, me either. I went to college for about 6 weeks. Those of you that don't know that whole story, I was with a girl who, shout out to her, she pulled me out of a bad place in terms of just, I wasn't, to be honest, I was fucking up in school. I was around bad influences. I was on the basketball team and stuff like that. So you can imagine the type of influences that I was already around to begin with. And, she kind of pulled me out of that in terms of just kind of got my shit together, right? Because it's the whole thing going back to you are who you put yourself around at the end of the day. Like, you are the sum of the 5 people that you put yourself around. And, I was around some not so great people during middle school, junior high, that type of stuff. And, yeah, once high school came around, got my shit together. With that, thought that I wanted to go to college to be an accountant of all things. A CPA was what I was going to go to college to be. And after about 6 weeks, I was like, this is a fucking scam. Like, I knew immediately. I was like, why am I paying for this? Like, this class, this class, this class. None of my classes I was taking that first year to even 2 years from what they were telling me had shit to do with what I was going to school for, but you had to take it in order to graduate. And I was like, and I'm paying for this? Like, why? Like, I was just like, this is just a scam. And, I ended up dropping out after like 6 weeks. Obviously, that relationship didn't work after that. And, as you all see on YouTube, I started doing all sorts of stuff, just, trying to make a living and survive more than anything, because I didn't have a mom or dad who was like, you can just kind of live off of our dollar. Excuse me. Don't play with your ring, by the way. For those of you that are married. I was doing all sorts of things. I didn't have, I wasn't raised in the type of house where you can be 30 years old living with mommy and daddy. I was able to move back in with my dad for about, I think it was 3 months, because I did get in some serious debt when I was first starting, my multiple different business journeys that didn't work. I mean, they did work, but I got in over my head more than anything, just kind of because I have like an obsessive, what did my, I had a little shrink try to tell me like I have some type of obsession, like when pretty much when I get on something, I get on something like that. And I think that's where, with business specifically, um, I just dive in. I dive in. I don't read. When I say I don't read, I don't want to say I don't read. I do read. I listen more than read. Like I'll have Audible and things of that nature, like audiobooks, and I'll follow along because I'm, to be honest, not a very fast reader, but I do absorb information very fast. Like when I listen to podcasts, I listen to them anywhere between 1.2 to 2.0x speed. Now sometimes I will listen to them on repeat just to drive that information into my head, but I probably sound like a total dork or freak right now, but I mean, it is what it is. I'm just telling you what works for me more than anything. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, same thing. I'll watch them on 1.2 to 2.0x speed. I have YouTube Premium, so a lot of times, same thing. Instead of watching the video, I'll listen to it like a podcast while I'm working. Pro tip, shout out to, or not pro tip, but little business hack, shout out to Alex Hermosi for this little hack here. I chew some Nicorette gum. Not a lot or anything. You don't want to get addicted to nicotine, obviously, but it's just like 4 milligrams of nicotine in the gum. I'll usually chew like one. Just to put in perspective, I've had this is a 20-piece box. I've had it for about 2 weeks already, and I've used like 6 pieces. Like I only use it whenever I'm trying to like get in a zone and really learn some shit, or pump out a new landing page, or pump out a new article for the website, something of that nature. But it does really, it's almost like a Adderall and a gum, so to speak. It definitely helps me focus big time. Trying to think what else. If I were to point to books specifically, if you're more of the book reader type of person and for a fact that you plan on growing, I mean, like I said, guys, I mean, I read books. I mean, right now, for example, I'm reading and listening to, trying to make the YouTube channel better for you guys, of course. This is called The YouTube Formula by Daryl Eves. And then, of course, that this was actually kind of a tongue-in-cheek book that I bought. I got it at a used bookstore. It was just sales closing for dummies. It was like $5. Yeah, $5.49 when I bought it, and haven't even really looked at it yet. But I do read books. I've probably read, at least since I dropped out of high school, at least 50 books probably. Excuse me. Friggin' dog down there barking at her shadow. I've probably read at least 30 to 50 books. I got into a groove of like, thinking I needed to read like a book a month and this and that. And I stopped that after like 6 months because, in my opinion, if you're reading just to kind of check a box, right? Are you really absorbing that information? Are you actually taking anything from it at the end of the day? That's why, like, even when I said I listen to stuff at 1.2 to 2x speeds, a lot of times I'll listen to it too. There's been videos where even my wife will mention, like, haven't we already seen, like, she'll say we, like she watches it or something, but she'll be like, haven't, like, you already, like, seen this? And I'm like, yeah, but, like, who knows? Like, I could have missed something. Like, I'm always listening to something, especially when I know from the first time I listened to it, like, holy shit, there's a lot of good information here. I will listen to it 2, 3. There's been videos that I've watched or listened to like 20 times over, there, especially like Gary Vee, for example. When I was first learning about building a brand for a pest control business, he has a lot of good content about building a brand, and some of his videos, they're longer because they're like keynotes and stuff like that. I just knew, I was like, I'm not going to be able to like retain all this information listening to it one time. There's been videos and keynotes of his that I've listened to probably 24 times over the last 5 to 10 years. Because, my pest control business has only been open for 3 to 4 years, but I've been, a quote unquote entrepreneur in terms of figuring out what business works best for me for, 7 or 8 years now, ever since, like I said, I dropped out of college back in, what year was that? 2016, I believe. So yeah, right at like 8 years now. Um, Getting off on a little tangent there, but I just honestly, that right there was probably gold for a lot of you guys, probably going to resonate with a lot of you guys, because there's so many people that will tell you that you need to go to college to learn about business and get a, what do they call it, I don't even know what they call a business degree anymore. Is it a business degree or bachelor's? And I think it's called like a BS. What is it? Bachelor? The irony, right? BS. What was it called? Business science, maybe? I don't even remember the names that they call all this stuff anymore. But I just remember it was hilarious that the acronym was like BS. I was like, funny how that works. But there's so many people that will make you think that, you need to go to college, you need to pay for this, you need to pay for that, you need to do this, you need to do that. No, what you need to do is get the fuck to work. Like, I can't stress it enough. Like, get information. Don't get me wrong. Like, I just told you guys for about 5 minutes or more, how I get information and how I absorb information. But I don't know if some of you guys caught what I was saying there. A lot of times when I'm listening to information, I'm doing shit. Like, I'm literally in front of the computer working on, you guys see all the tabs here that I got pulled up right now. I mean, I got edit your page. We got a page pulled up here. We got our Google ads pulled up here. We got keywords pulled up here. Obviously, we got the YouTube stream and Amazon and stuff as well. I will usually have at any given time, anywhere between 6 to 20 tabs open where I'm doing work while I am, absorbing information. When I'm in the shower, I'm absorbing information. Like, I listen to music maybe, because I shower usually, of course, bare minimum once a day, but usually twice a day when I'm being consistent and going to the gym in the morning and all that stuff. I only listen to music maybe out of, we'll call it 12 showers a week. I may listen to music twice throughout the week whenever I'm in the shower. Usually it's like, my Christian music, usually like Sunday mornings or something like that. But even then, I'm usually listening to like a sermon or something on YouTube Live from, other pastors and things like that. But for the most part, I'm listening to podcasts, I'm listening to YouTube, I'm, just trying to absorb information. There's so much information on the internet for free that there's really, in my opinion, no reason to even bother. I'm gonna be pushing on some buttons here. There's no reason to go to college if you're going to be starting a business. In my opinion, there's so much information out here for free that there's no reason from the business side. Now, obviously, there's certain fields and industries and things like that where, obviously, if you're trying to start a medical business, obviously you need a medical degree, right? Like, I'm not saying that there's just no need. I'm not one of these guys that are like colleges, just 100% scam for everybody. Like, obviously, if somebody's going to be cracking my damn head open, operating on my brain, I want them to know what the hell they're doing. They better have a lot of freaking, education, right? But, for those of us that are looking at starting service businesses and, pretty standard, quote unquote, basic, I call them basic, boring businesses like plumbing, pest control, anything in the service industry at the end of the day. There's really not a need for college. Just being blunt with you guys about it. It's more so go out there, find the information you need for getting up, getting started, managing your business, and then get to work. Can't stress it enough. So, I know that's probably like a solid 10 to 15 minute answer to one question, but there's something about that question that for whatever reason, maybe it was the Nicorette gum, who knows. I just took and ran with it because, I mean, I was in your position, whenever I was starting all my different little business ideas, and I would get analysis paralysis, and sometimes even today still will, because, sometimes you get conflicting data from people. The biggest example that I use is in the finance space. If you listen to Grant Cardone or you listen to Dave Ramsey, or even better example, instead of Grant Cardone, because not a lot of people even know Grant Cardone still, Robert Kiyosaki, everyone knows him, to Dave Ramsey, like these are two totally conflicting views on money, right? So, if you're listening to Dave 3 days a week and then you're listening to Robert 3 days a week, you're not really going to do nothing, because you got analysis paralysis where, in my view, you should kind of find a couple people that, you really agree with. Not that you're like a fanboy or any of this BS, but, what they're saying really resonates with you. You're learning stuff, you're applying it, you're seeing it work in your business, and just get tunnel vision on that. See them as what they are, mentors. Everyone that is online, including yourself, by the way. I've talked about this many times. I think anyone that starts a business, it is their duty to document their journey. That way the next up and coming business owner can see that, hey, if they can do it, I sure as hell can do it. That's why I do what I do here. I mean, I'm like I've told you guys, I'm not special. I mean, hell, a lot of times I feel, probably politically incorrect to say what I'm about to say, but I feel retarded half the time. Like, just keeping it real. Like, there's a lot of times where I'm like, dude, do I even know what the hell I'm doing? Like, am I really cut out for this? Am I cut out for a 7, 8, 9 figure business? Like, am I really cut out for it? Or do I just think I am? And, that will never end at the end of the day. One thing that I have learned most successful people have in common is they always question themselves. And not to a point where, like I said, you get analysis paralysis, or you just don't end up doing anything because you're so afraid of making the wrong move. But even whenever you are slowly but surely climbing that mountain, every day you wake up feeling this sense of, almost like desperation. You just wake up like, shit, I gotta hit the ground running, because if I don't hit the ground running, that's a day lost. A day lost is a day gained by my competitor. Every minute that I'm not working, they are working. Like, I'm always competing with this like imaginary version of myself who is, just a step behind me, and I don't want that motherfucker to pass me at the end of the day. I don't care about the, in the pest control space, for example, the Terminixes, the Orkins, the this, the that. I'm worried about, in all honesty, for example, the guys who are looking at starting their business or just getting started, who, keep it real, y'all ain't gonna pass me. I don't want, I mean, y'all are, I mean, I'm sure some of y'all will, but my whole point is like, I create this, like, this invisible chip on my shoulder in terms of like a competitor, essentially. And I find that a lot of people do that, in not just, pest control, but in the business space in general. They create this environment of, competition, even though there's like no competition really there in reality. They create this sense of urgency that, if I'm not getting closer to my goal, my mission, then, someone else is, and, they're going to beat me if I don't. And a lot of people, shrinks and all that type of shit, they'll tell you it's unhealthy. They'll tell you have an obsessive, OCD, like obsessive compulsive, something with a D at the end of it. OCD, ADD, ADHD, this and that and the other. But, as Grant Cardone said, he said, I don't add, I multiply. Get off that soapbox finally. We've been on that soapbox for about 15 minutes now, I think. But hopefully that answers that question. Majin, and I'm sorry ahead of time if I'm mispronouncing your name. I meant to say that earlier. I hate mispronouncing people's names. Hopefully, too, the stream is working all right for you guys. I figured we probably wouldn't have too many of you guys in here tonight just because, one, it's a Friday. Hey, by the way, Speaking of it being a Friday, shout out to those of you who are joining the live stream on a freaking Friday evening. You guys, you are the prime person that I was talking about. The person who is willing on a Friday night when people are probably popping bottles, going $200+ in debt tonight because, oh God, it's Monday, thank God it's Friday type of mentality. You're on freaking YouTube, just trying to get better at the end of the day. So, I mean, shout out to you all that are tuning in on a Friday night. Give yourself a little pat on the back because you definitely deserve it. You remind me of myself, as cliche as it may sound. Um, just I'm gonna give you all some quick free game here, and we'll probably go ahead and start wrapping up. I got a couple things around the house I want to do before my wife gets back home. Um, just a quick, like I said, I got an in-depth video that I'll be releasing for you guys, hopefully sometime between Monday and Thursday next week. But I want to go ahead and give you all just for those of you that are tuning in right now. And of course, if you have any last couple minute questions, feel free to shout them out in the chat real quick while I'm going over this for you guys. I found out how we can actually adjust our max cost per click on keywords. It's actually in the settings of your campaign. So say, of course you have ad group settings, but what you'll want to do is you'll go over here into campaign, and then of course it's going to make me reload because there's a new version because we haven't been on today. Speaking of which, we weren't on our Google Ads today because we were actually selling one of our trucks. We finally got that sold it for about $9,000 to another pest control company, oddly enough. Just glad to be moving on from that stage. I hate selling vehicles. It's especially on Marketplace. It's such a pain in the ass. So what you'll do is you'll go down here into, man, this stuff be making me annoyed sometimes. Not the ad. Why is Google Ads doing all this bullshit? Come on, get out of here. So I want to do all ad groups. And then from there, we go into campaign settings, I believe. Let me make sure we're in the right setting. Go ahead and exit that. We got too much stuff open right now. Close out Discord. Come on. Optimization score 76%. That's pretty good too. Like I always tell you guys, you want to focus, you want to make sure that optimization score is ideally 70 to 75% or better. I'll probably do some edits on it this weekend to make sure everything's good. So down here where it shows your budget and bidding. So what you'll end up doing is going down here to hit change bidding strategy. And then we have our set as manual CPC. Whenever you are first looking at it, it'll show maximize click. Like these are what's called automated bidding strategies. And what you'll want to do is there's a little like checkbox or something that'll say like more options essentially. And you'll click that. And then from there, you'll do manual CPC, which as you can see, manual CPC means that you're setting your own, like it says, with manual CPC bidding, you set your own maximum cost per click for your ads. I'm not making any changes there because it's already set, but you just go in there and do that. And then from there, what you'll do, and I'll actually go back because I wanted to go to the keyword planner. Let's see, not keyword planner, but my keywords. There we go. Search keywords. And then as you can see, you can go in here and set your own actual max bid for different keywords. Like this one here is 1821. Only had 2 impressions, so I will go ahead and up that to $19. Because the fact that we just got like no impressions on it this week. Pest control near me, we still have that at $20. And if you're wondering, okay, well, you have your max CPC set at $20. How come your average CPC is $20.81? That is because we've also actually did what's called a bid adjustment, which means you can actually increase or decrease for different audiences, different devices, things of that nature. So what we did is we actually increased with mobile devices, like or not mobile devices, cell phones specifically, that we are willing to pay 5% over our max bid for cell phone clicks. So that is why our average CPC is slightly higher, because if you take 5% of 20, that comes out to, oh my gosh, what, 5 cents times 20, $21 essentially. So as you can see, we're just under that, you know, 2081, right? And then on computers, we actually lowered it by, I want to say 10%. And then on maybe even less, I think 50%, as a matter of fact. And then, no, tablets was minus 50%. Desktops was like 25%, something like that. Because we noticed desktops and tablets, for some reason, have the most fraudulent activity. We use ClickSees to track bot activity and things like that. At first, I didn't know if it was really worth the money because it's like $69 a month. But I can tell you guys, based on just our sheer volume of clicks, how much they've dropped recently, that there's a lot of bot activity out there. They have blocked a lot of IP addresses for us just in the first month alone. And I'm very satisfied with that so far. Will I keep it long term? To be determined. I'll probably keep it at least through the spring months, as you know, pest control companies start ramping up their ads and things of that nature, just to make sure that our fraudulent activity is on the low. But so far, I think it's definitely worth the money. How I looked at it is for $69, if they save me 5 clicks per month of, you know, fraudulent clicks, with my average CPC being around $20 per click, it pays for itself, you know, almost 2x just off of 5 clicks, right? You know, to me, it's almost a no-brainer at the end of the day. But yeah, so I wanted to just show you guys that. And the other thing too is, whenever you do that, don't get caught up trying to, you know, $56. I'm not paying $56. Like, you know, if that's how high that one is, then we'll just go ahead and just remove that altogether, because we're not getting any impressions anyways from it. And if people are willing to pay almost $60 per click for that search term, have at it, guys. Like, I'm not going to compete with you on that. But yeah, like I said, definitely be in the know with the channel, because we are going to have a very, very in-depth video. Like I said, it's about 30 minutes roughly, a dive into my Google Ads account. It's been like a month or so since I've done a Google Ads update. There's been a lot of changes to my account recently that have finally started to paying some dividends for us recently. And I think you guys will definitely get a lot of valuable information from that. Wanted to check the chat real quick. Let's see. Hey, what's going on, my world? I think I even mentioned you, like, man, I forget how long ago it's been. About a month roughly. I was talking about just how everyone, you know, that viewed the channel within the last year or two, we've been posting enough content and things like that now where a lot of you guys have been launching your own businesses. And I mentioned that you were actually one of them. You were in like every stream religiously, and then you started your business here, within the last year, roughly, I want to say, roughly a year ago, if I recall. And I remember I was like, man, my world, for example, that dude must be busy with the business right now, which is good. I don't take none of it personally. Like, when I see that some of you guys are not in the chat, be it on Discord, Facebook, or even in the live streams as often, I take it as a positive that, hey, they must be going out and doing shit, right? So yeah, if you're in here, my world, definitely give us an update real quick before we wrap up on, you know, how 2023 was for you and how everything's going, because definitely interested to hear an update. Trying to think if there was anything else. Oh, I guess while we're here and we're waiting on My World, assuming My World's still tuning in, um, I'll give you guys an update on our Local Falcon progress. If you don't know what Local Falcon is, of course, Local Falcon is a website you can use to track your Google Business Profile rankings. Each dot represents a point on the map that pretty much if you were standing in that spot and you typed in pest control near me, termite control, rodent control, whatever the case may be, it's going to tell you exactly where your Google Business Profile ranks at that specific point on the map at that specific time. We have noticed recently over the last probably 2 or 3 months that there has been a big change going on lately with Google Business Profile rankings. I have a very, very, very strong feeling that business hours do affect your rankings now. Prime example right here. It's almost 9 o'clock at night right now, and we are ranking pretty well overall. I mean, this is a 7-mile radius grid that we have going on right here. And as you can see, I mean, we're ranking in the top 3 as far out as 7 miles away from our location, which in an area like mine where there is a lot of competition, that is very good for me to be popping up as good as we seem to be popping up for the search term pest control service. And of course you can do this, like I said, with any type of search term. You can do pest control service, pest control near me, rodent control, termite control, whatever the case may be. I always try to use some of the more like commonly searched. What you can do a lot of times is go to your actual Google Business Profile. I'm trying to find mine here. Go to your actual Google Business Profile, and you can go into your reports. I need to get another review. It's been a week or so since we got a review. If this shit will load. Come. My World said, not a year yet, been very busy. That's good. I missed being in the chat. Every little bit of time was for resting and catching up on life. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know exactly what you mean. I'm currently interviewing for a new guy to help me. There you go. There you go. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. I love hearing that. Mean, I always tell people, you know, sometimes I'll hear people say like, "Oh, I'm so busy." I'm like, "Hey, bro, are you bragging or are you complaining?" I was like, "That should be something to brag about." Like, I always, when my customers, I'll even have customers, but I'm sure My World, you probably have had it at this point too. Customers will be like, "Oh man, you must be busy." I always tell them the same thing. I'm like, "Hey, that's better than the alternative at the end of the day. You know, if I'm not busy, then I'm not making money." You know, it's one that, and I'm sure My World, you'd probably agree with me. Here, you'd probably like, hell yeah. That's awesome though, just to hear that you're looking at hiring somebody. What was I trying to find here? No, not performance. There's a way to see. Oh my gosh, where do you find it? There's a way that you can see on here the search. Maybe it is under performance. Let me see something. You can see the search terms that people were using. There we go. To find. Oh my gosh, come on now. The search terms that people were using to find your business. So they even give you like a breakdown too, like Google search mobile, Google search desktop, Google Maps desktop. And then right here, this is what we want to see right here. What are the search terms that you showed up for? So pest control service, pest control Rowlett, obviously that's the town we're located in. Termites, just termites by itself apparently. Exterminator, pest control near me. Effective pest control program, that's a strange one. 24/7 pest control. So the main thing is usually I want to take the top 3, maybe 5 to 6 at the most, and I will you know, put them in this tool, Local Falcon, like we did Pest Control Service for this one, to see, you know, where do we rank. And, you know, the other thing you can do is you can go in here and see, okay, well, how do I look compared to my competitors? You can do competitor reports. I always just like to go in here and do it like this. I will look at, is it the scan report, I believe? Let's take a look. No, not scan report. Maybe it is competitor reports, as a matter of fact. You go in here to competitor reports, view competitor report. And what this will do is actually pull up a list of how your business is ranking compared to the competitors in that area. And it will show you the competitors graph as well. So like this is our graph in the 7-mile radius. This is the number 2 company. This is their graph. This is the number 3. This is the number 4, number 5. This one cracks me up too, because this dude literally only does this shit during summer. He's a teacher, and he just does it during the summer to make extra money. Number 6, which I'm surprised, that's a wildlife company showing up for pest control service. Let's see. Got another one right here. That's a newer company, I believe. Yeah, 29 reviews. Number 8. Yeah, I mean, it's cool overall just to see, just to look at that kind of stuff. But let's see. Currently passing on jobs, pest friend, taking new job. Basically not. No. Exactly, man. That's what I'm talking about. That you're doing the damn thing, man. I cannot stress that enough. That's awesome to hear. Oh man, I was hoping to get some stuff done before my wife got home, but I think she just rolled up. But yeah, we'll go ahead and wrap this up for this one tonight. We've been on already for over an hour, so hopefully you guys did get a lot of valuable information from it. Definitely, if you're just tuning in, go ahead and swipe back about 20-30 minutes. We went on a little 15-minute rant that I think a lot of you guys will, a good rant, not a bad rant, like a good one that I think you guys will get a lot of valuable information from. If you have any questions, of course, go ahead and drop them in the chat post-stream. If you're not already in our Discord group, Facebook group, all that good stuff, link for that is in the link tree down below. I appreciate you guys tuning in as always. Like I said, we'll have a video coming out here within the next few days for you guys as well, diving into our Google Ads big time that I think you guys will get a lot of value from as well. And again, shout out to you, my world. It's awesome to hear that you're crushing it. Appreciate you all as always, and I'll see you in the next one.